Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing great today. We're going to go ahead and get started on reviewing page 444. So, on page 444, you had to use the fraction bars. For each problem, use the fraction bar to show your solution, then write an equation. So, this is what we were practicing yesterday. Remember how we went from the word of, to the multiplication sign. So we did a page of this together yesterday. So now you are supposed to do page 444 as part of your daily work. So let's get started. Number 5, if half of the shaded part is striped, and it told us in the direction that 1/3 of the bars is shaded. So if half of the shaded part is striped, how much of the bar is striped? So I drew these out ahead of time. So we have our 1/3 shaded, and now we're going to stripe that 1/3. And you guys can do this at home as well. I feel like I'm Bob Ross. So, how much of the shaded bar is striped? So, if 1/2 of the shaded part is striped, so we were only supposed to do 1/2. So, let's cut that in half. We're talking about just this guy right here. So, we would do 1/2 of the 1/3. And we should get, remember we're going to replace that of with the multiplication sign. So we should get 1/6 as our answer. Because if there's 2 here, there's 2 here, there's 2 here, that would be 6. And if you don't know what I mean, think about it. We'd break this up into 2 and we break this up into 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces all together. Let's do number 6. If 1/4 of the shaded part is striped. So let's take our shaded part and we're going to break it up into fourths. There's 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, and 4 pieces. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're supposed to shade our stripe, 1/4. So what is our answer going to be? So we were saying if 1/4 of the 1/3, right? Okay. We're going to replace the of with the multiplication sign. So our equation should be 1/4 times 1/3. That should be your equation. So if there's 4 pieces here, there's going to be 4 pieces here, and there's going to be 4 pieces here. So that's 4, 8, 12. So we know that our denominator is going to be 12. There's one that has both the pink or the red and the blue. I broke the pink crayon yesterday. So our answer is going to be 1/12. Now, multiplication, 1 times 1 is 1, of course. 4 times 3 is 12. So I know you guys are just doing this part up here, and you're probably doing it in your head. But I'm showing you on this as well because I really want you to understand the math behind it. Like, what's it actually mean? Let's go down to number 7. If 1/3 of the shaded part is striped, how much of the bar is striped? So we're going to have to break this into thirds. And we're going to have to stripe one of them. So what do you guys think the answer is? Or what did you come up with yesterday? Should be 1/9, I'm guessing. 1/3 times 1/3 equals 1/9. There's our equation. And finally, the last one. If 1/6 of the shaded part is striped, how much of the bar is striped? So let's cut this right in half. And then you make 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So if 1/6, so I gotta do that. So what's our answer going to be? Well, if there's 6 here, there's 6 here, there's 6 here. So we know our denominator is going to be 18. I'm going to guess 1/18. But let's do our equation. 1/6 times 1/3 equals 1/18 is correct. Okay. Let's put that to the side for a moment. We'll do some more of those today. But I made this chart here where it says MP stands for multiplication problem. Product, of course, is our answer. And what I want us to do at this chart is to kind of decide whether or not something's going to be more or less. So 3/4 times 32, the very first one here. Is this product, the answer, going to be less, more, or less than 32? What do you guys think? Come up with an answer? All right. If you guessed less, you are correct, because think about it. 3/4 of the 32, right? It's going to be less than the 32. So if I work this out, and I really want you to guess without working it out, but if I work this out and I do 32 over 1, I'm going to get 4 down here, right? 3 times 32 is, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. When I divide 9 into 96, or 4, excuse me, into 96, I get 2, I get 8, subtract and get 1, bring down my 6, I get 4. So my answer would be 24. So, of course, that's less than 32. Let's go back to our chart. What about 1 1/2 times 32? Is that going to be more or less than 32? I'm right here on the second one. 1 and 1 1/2. Right, so 1 1/2 times 32. Well, if you guessed more, you are correct. So why do you think it's going to be more than 32? Well, the key lies in that this is a mixed number. So you would be doing 1 times 32 to begin with, and then you would be doing 1/2 times 32. And when you add both those answers together, they're of course more than 32. What about 3/4 times 60? Do you think that's going to be more or less than 60? 3/4 times 60. Well, if you guessed less, you are correct. It is less. What about 1 1/4 times 60? Do you think that's going to be more or less than 60? Well, if you guessed more, you are correct, because it's the same philosophy as this one up here. It's that mixed number is going to make it more than 60. What about 1/6 times 1/2? Do you think that's going to be more or less than 1/2? 1/6 times 1/2, more or less than 1/2? Well, if you said less than 1/2, you are correct, because it is going to be less than 1/2. Because remember, by all our drawing out, that we're really doing 1/6 of 1/2. So we would have to do 1/2. That would be our shaded part. And then we'd have to break it into 6 on that shaded part. What about 1/8 times 1/3? Do you think it's going to be more or less than 1/3? More or less? Well, if you guessed less, you did it correctly. Good job. Today's student, by the way, is Alexis. Alexis, out of Mrs. Lee's room. Alexis is our student name of the day. Tune in tomorrow for another student name. Today, you're going to do 446 and 447. I also, now that we kind of practice stuff, go back over page 445 and see if you've changed your answers at all. But 446 and 447, and on 447, it's that canoe trip. You have to use the fraction bars. How many miles they traveled each day. Remember that we put whole numbers over 1. You guys have an awesome day.